Saiyans. No, really, there's like 3 whole genocides that happened post-time skip alone, on top of themes like slavery, the corruption of power, racism, anti-establishment, child murder. This is a story aimed at teens and young adults, but that doesn't mean it's all sunshine.
Hold on. You might have convinced me. Hold on, let's go back to all that greatness he was talking about.
No, really, there's like 3 whole genocides that happened post-time skip alone, on top of themes like slavery, the corruption of power, racism, anti-establishment, child murder. This is a story aimed at teens and young adults, but that doesn't mean it's all sunshine and rainbows. This is a series.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie, you can't get a good anime without a lot of those. I'm gonna keep it a buck. If I watch a show and everybody who we saw in the beginning is alive at the end, in that first episode, that can't be a good anime. I'm sorry. I'm gonna just keep it a buck. Somebody gotta get gone. That's just a fact. Or severely injured. One of the two. I'm okay with severely injured. Maybe after watching this video, I'll finally watch One Piece. But as of right now, I'll never watch One Piece. One Piece will never touch my palate.
You know that feeling you get when you finish the last episode of a really great show? And I'm not talking about like a mini series or a week-long binge watch. I'm talking about a show spanning multiple seasons that you spend a decent period of your life consuming. When you see those credits roll for the—
Hold on, bro. We gotta go back, bro. Cinematic right here, bro. This is a cinematic TV show right here. This the greatest of all time. You feel me?
seasons that you spend a decent period of your life consuming. When you see those credits roll for the final time, there's this weird feeling of emptiness that closure brings. You've practically grown with these characters.
BoJack Horseman was an amazing show. Oh my gosh, bro. I finished it a week ago. One of the best shows I ever watched. One of the best shows I've ever watched.
Their highest highs, their lowest lows, and participated in their journey all the way through to their final destination. Now, sometimes that final destination can be disappointing, other times it can be satisfying, but that void is still present. That chapter of your life is now closed. I've experienced this quite a few times with shows like Avatar, Breaking Bad, Peaky Blinders, and most recently Succession. And this whole idea got me thinking, if this—
Succession's so underrated, one of the best shows I've ever watched in my life. Oh my gosh. He got some good clips in here. These are some good TV shows he putting on here. These are some amazing TV shows. I don't know what that got to do with One Piece, but amazing TV shows right here.
how I'm feeling with shows I've only spent months or a couple years watching. What on earth am I gonna do when One Piece finally ends? Because when that day comes, when Luffy's eventually crowned Pirate King, I don't think I'll ever experience another story like that in my life. This is a series that's been going on since 1997, and it's remained consistently good for 26 years. In fact, I'd argue that right now is the best time to not only be a One Piece fan, but also to become a One Piece fan. I feel like One Piece is one of those series that everyone has an opinion on, whether they've seen the show or not. And a large part of that has to do with the fact that the show just aired its 1088th episode.
Damn! I'm sorry.
Every time I try to recommend this show to people, I get the inevitable response of, yeah, that's cool, but I'm not watching all that. Which, to be
honestly, how long it is, I don't really even care about how long it is. It could be 40 million episodes as far as I'm concerned. Bro, the animation, like I can give you like 20 reasons why I don't want to watch this show. The animation, I get it. It's old, but still, bro, it looks like a kid's show. It looked Mickey. When I was watching Attack on Titan, the first episode, Jit Mom got dropped. When I was watching Death Note, first episode, a bunch of different people was getting dropped. I ain't come to watch no freaking dude sail for some trees. That's literally the only thing I remember is some Mickey looking trees.
1,000 episodes is a lot more than 12. But to those who have even the slightest bit of curiosity into this story but are turned off by its length, this is what I'll say. Almost everyone I know who's caught up with this series, who's been a part of Luffy's journey, has not regretted it. Millions of people from around the world dedicated years of their lives to just this one story. No regrets. And there's a reason for that. There's a level of care put into so many different aspects of this story and the world it takes place in. It's the type of care that gives the henchmen and background characters just as much personality as the protagonist. It's the type of care that treats each new location as its own unique, visibly lived in region with its own political system, species, culture, and history. It's the type of care that makes you feel just as part of the crew as Zoro or Nami or Sanji. There's a million reasons why you shouldn't let the sheer quantity of One Piece steer you away from experiencing the quality it has to offer. But before I get into that,
If the beginning of the show looked like this, I would push through. See, this right here, you see this right here? I can't watch this. This ain't it for me. This just looked like a soft show, bro. Like, this just looks sorry.
Nami or Sanji. There's a million
But this look cold. But I can't watch that other stuff. I'm gonna keep it a bug. I'm sorry. I can't.
why you shouldn't let the sheer quantity of One Piece steer you away from experiencing the quality it has to offer. But before I get into that, I want to come at you from a perspective that I don't hear many other fans talk about. I cannot emphasize enough that what Oda's doing with One Piece is truly unprecedented in so many different areas. It is by far the most successful manga series of all time, and given how popular it still is and how long the series has left to go, this is a record that will never be broken in our lifetimes. Now, in a majority of cases, when you're running a series at this kind of level for as long as it's been around, there's an inevitable fall off that ensues at some point. Look at stories that aren't even half as long as One Piece, like Game of Thrones, Dexter, Bleach, Naruto, and how they just weren't able to sustain that early period of success. Not only is One
Okay, to be fair, Game of Thrones, the writers just messed it up at the end. They had it in the bag. They could have easily had the best show of all time. Wasn't as long as One Piece. That could have been avoided, bro.
thriving, with the latest Egghead Island cementing itself as a top tier arc in the series, Netflix just put out a good live action remake of the show covering the early chapters. Let me repeat that. Not only is the 1,000 chapter manga and anime arguably still at its peak, the live action remake is also great. That is unheard of. Dragon Ball couldn't do it, Full Metal Alchemist couldn't do it, Cowboy Bebop couldn't do it. Even a series like Death Note, which is much more centered in reality.
Bro, that Death Note movie made me so mad, bro. You mean to tell me you can't even get the sound to match the picture? Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Let's just move on, bro. First anime I ever watched, and they ruined it. Ruined it.
Couldn't make a live action adaptation that captured the spirit of the original. But the show about pirates with superpowers sailing the world to find treasure managed to outdo everyone else, and it got renewed for a second season almost immediately after it aired. In almost every medium from manga, anime, and live action, One Piece is in a league by itself. And something about the payoff of this 3-decade-long journey makes it so worthwhile to me. I don't think I'm over exaggerating when I say that the moment the One Piece is revealed and Luffy reaches his lifelong dream is gonna be a watershed moment in pop culture. When that final chapter is released, the world will remember that day as the day when one of the greatest stories ever told came to an end. And I think being there to witness that moment live as someone who watched every single one of the Straw Hats adventures as they happened is worth it. If you're a fan of manga, if you're a fan of adventure, if you're a fan of great storytelling, do yourself the favor and join the crew while they're still sailing, because I think that's a journey worth taking. But why? What is it that makes One Piece specifically so much better than everything else? Is One Piece a
Almost everything else. Almost. Not everything. A lot of things. Almost.
story? No, that doesn't exist. There's real pacing issues, especially in the anime, that bog down certain events to unnecessary lengths. Some of the humor may not land, and there is filler. Some of it's fire, but it does take up a decent portion of screen time. But in comparison to all of the things that it does right, these are relatively small prices to pay. Because once you really get into the story of One Piece, you realize that its greatest strength is thinking that there's no way the show can get better, and it proves you wrong every single time. Yes, there's some arcs that stand out above others, but there's no real significant dip in quality in between, and each one of these arcs has those moments that will just absolutely floor you with how powerful they are. It never feels like a super tedious watch or read either, because even though it's a long series, that time doesn't feel wasted. The length allows for this world to breathe and also helps keep the series fresh by diversifying the locations where these arcs take place. The deserts of Alabasta are nothing like the underwater kingdom of Fishman Island, which is nothing like the graveyards of Thriller Bark, which is nothing like Whole Cake Island, which is literally just an island made of desert ruled by a 29-foot tall woman child with 85 kids. This is a grand scale adventure in every sense of the word, with massive diverse places.
He low-key convincing me that showing the different sceneries, that takes some pain. That's some pain right there. The beginning animation though, bro, I don't think I can get past that. The beginning animation, bro, it just looked like some sorry, bro. It just looked it's not that it looks bad, it just looks old. I can't get with that, bro. I'm sorry. I ain't see that first episode, bro. I was watching forever. It felt like I ain't see no blood. I ain't see nobody got packed up. There was no fighting. Like, bro, what are we talking about? That ain't it. There was no fire, no nothing. Come on, bro. I'm here for plot and pain and injuries.
Explore, filled with one of the greatest casts of characters you'll find in a piece of fiction. Luffy is just about the best protagonist you could ask for. His unwavering will and energetic personality makes him extremely likable and easy to root for. He is going to become the king of the pirates. You'll hear that a lot. His goal hasn't changed for 26 years, and he's surrounded himself with the perfect crew to help follow him on this impossible quest. Zoro, Sanji, Usopp, Nami, Frankie, Chopper, Robin, Brook, and Jinbei. These are 9 completely different characters who all complement each other perfectly, because in some way, shape, or form, Luffy has done something to each one of them to change their lives for the better, and they're all united in his cause to become king. And this is just the main crew. I could literally go all day in detail explaining each and every villain, side character, faction of power, character relationships, and I wouldn't really come close to explaining just how well Oda balances out the sheer amount of characters. To put something in perspective, the Dressrosa arc is centered around one of the 7 warlords of the sea, Don Quixote Doflamingo, and his rule over the kingdom of Dressrosa. Obviously, being that the arc is centered around this man, we learn in great detail about his backstory and how he came to be the evil, tyrannical dictator we see the Straw Hats try to stop. But the character who many consider to have the best character moment,
He's gonna convince me. Dang, this I don't know who I don't know who this channel belongs to, but he wrote a really good script and he has some really good scene packs in here. He's not showing the old stuff because the animation looks way too new. But he's convincing me a little bit, not a lot. I don't think it's better than Attack on Titan though. Nothing's better than Attack on Titan. Alright. If you got my blood relatives or Eren Yeager, I'm picking Eren Yeager. Alright, that's just a fact. I'm not picking nobody over Eren Yeager. Midnight Samurai. Yeah, he convincing me though. I won't lie, he's convincing me. I might watch the first episode again, but bro, I'm gonna keep it a buck. There's a 95% chance I watch the first episode and halfway through I turn it off again.
this arc isn't Doflamingo, but one of his henchmen, Senor Pink, who looks like this. And the reason why he looks like this will truly break your heart. It is without question a top 3 backstory in the series, and it was given to someone who wasn't even close to being the most important person in that arc. But I think a moment that truly exemplifies this philosophy comes from when the Straw Hats lose their old ship, the Going Merry. During an arc where the Straw Hats are on an island in the sky, their ship, which they've been using since the beginning of the series, had sustained lots of damage after falling thousands of meters back to the sea. And over time, as the damage continues to get worse and Luffy's crew grows both in size and notoriety, it becomes obvious that they need a new ship. This is the whole reason why they go to Water 7 and kickstarts one of the best arcs in the series, but at the very end, they find a new shipwright named Frankie who builds them a new ship called the Thousand Sunny. It's bigger, stronger, and overall the better ship for the places they need to go. But before they set off on their next island, the Straw Hats actually hold a funeral for the Going Merry where we see it burnt down. The reason this moment is so emotional is because the Merry was just as part of
I don't know why I'm laughing. I'm sorry, bro. I don't know why I'm laughing.
crew as anyone. It was the ship that brought the original Straw Hat crew together at the beginning of their journey. It symbolized their dreams, camaraderie, and the start of their grand adventure. Letting go of that ship marked the end of an era. But what really gets me though to this day is that even though the ship couldn't talk, there were final words shared between the crew. I just wanted to carry you all a little further, but I was happy. You took such good care of me. Thank you, and sheds tears along with the others before reaching the bottom of the sea. This is what separates One Piece from everything else. It will make you feel real emotions over things and people that other stories just can't do because of their limitations. And this is me only scratching the surface. There are dozens of these moments sprinkled all throughout the series, and trust me, the more you get invested in this story, all of the reasons people gush over it will become abundantly clear. Which begs the question, when does One Piece really start to get good? You'll hear a lot of people say that this show doesn't get good until episode 500, or if I have to wait 200 episodes.
See, bro, come on, bro. I don't have a problem with the show being 1,000 episodes. I could care less if it was 200,000. But bro, you mean to tell me I have to wait more than 100 episodes before it gets really good? Before the animation is good? Before the story becomes important, bro? Come on, bro. That's not my attention span, bro. Like literally, 100 episodes, 30 minutes per episode. Come on, bro. That's not my attention span. That's what are we doing? Why am I waiting so long to get story? Is their backstory that important that you needed 100 episodes, more than 100 episodes to tell me?
Before a show gets good, I'm not interested. And obviously those are exaggerations, but at what point in this story does it really hook you in? The answer to this question varies from person to person. Some people will say that it never captivated them, while others will say that it wasn't until the 100th or 200th episodes where they really started to appreciate One Piece. I think the most common answer you'll get from people is around the Arlong Park saga, specifically this moment in chapter 81 of the manga and episode 38 of the anime, where Nami asks for Luffy's help against the fishmen who've been terrorizing her home for the last decade.
38? Death Note had almost 38 episodes. Bro, what are we talking about? I gotta wait 38 episodes to get hooked? People be holding different standards for shows that they like, bro. Could you imagine you go to a studio and say, yo, we finna make a show. This the pilot, but don't worry, around episode 38, that's when it gets good. Now, One Piece is obviously, it has to be somewhat decent for so many people to like it. I understand. But bro, 38 episodes? 38? That is not an attention span problem. That's literally that it okay.
While I understand where people are coming from when they say this, they kind of discredit all of the great moments in this story that happened before this moment. Sanji's relationship with Zeph, Zoro's fight against Mihawk, Luffy's introduction and escape from Axe-Hand Morgan, everything with Kuro. There's a whole series worth of events that happens before the moment that everyone says the story gets good. I'll concede that Nami's call for help is a defining moment in the series, but I truly believe that this show is great from episode 1. It may not be at its most refined, but there's a certain charm to these early seasons that you'll miss as the arc starts to get more and more intense. No, really, there's like 3 whole genocides that happen post time skip alone, on top of themes like slavery, the corruption of power, racism, anti-establishment, child murder. This is a story aimed at teens and young adults, but that doesn't mean it's all sunshine.
Hold on. You might have convinced me. Hold on. Let's go back to all that greatness he was talking about.
No, really, there's like 3 whole genocides that happen post time skip alone, on top of themes like slavery, the corruption of power, racism, anti-establishment, child murder. This is a story aimed at teens and young adults, but that doesn't mean it's all sunshine and rainbows. This is a series.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie, you can't get a good anime without a lot of those. I'm gonna keep it a buck. Every good anime has some of those in there. All of them. Every single good one has some of those in there. I'm not finna lie and sit here and act like it ain't there. Cause it is. Don't know if I'm convinced all the way though. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know.
Tackles real issues, specifically the confliction of different ideologies. Being that Luffy is as bright-eyed as he is, he values true freedom above everything else in this world, and will stop at nothing to
Freedom? True freedom? Oh, a main character that fights for freedom with plot? Hold on. I might have to tune in, bro. That sound familiar.
that these desires are fulfilled. And he is constantly challenged by those who view his mindset as problematic, from the control-seeking world government to other pirates who view him as a threat. If you're someone who values flashy, action-packed fight scenes above everything else, you might not get as much from One Piece as other series. Don't get me wrong, there's some real quality fights in this show that'll satisfy your needs, but I find that One Piece doesn't really focus on the fights themselves, but instead cares more about the reasons why they're fighting in the first place, and how these differing beliefs clash together. I'll stop there for now. Like I said before, there's a million reasons why you should experience this show, and I could spend hours explaining every little minute detail, but the best thing you can do for yourself, if you even have a passing interest in this series, is to just start it and go at your own pace. Trust me, it's gonna be running for at least a few more years, so it's not going anywhere. And I can almost guarantee that as you really start to get invested in their journey, those chapters start slipping away, and before you know it, you'll be waiting weekly just like the rest of us. This is a journey that you will enjoy taking, and when that last chapter finally rolls out, you can say that you were there to witness history. So stop being scared and experience One Piece in what.
Once again, not scared. Alright, I'm not scared. My brother watches this show. He told me I should watch it. And I watched it. I watched the first episode with him actually. And I told him, yo bro, turn this weak stuff off. I don't know what this is. There's no problems in here. Everyone's alive. I don't want to watch that. If I watch a show and everybody who we saw in the beginning is alive at the end in that first episode, that can't be a good anime. I'm sorry. I'm gonna just keep it a buck. Somebody got to get gone. That's just a fact. No good anime has the same exact. Somebody has to get gone by the end. Or severely injured. One of the two. I'm okay with severely injured. You know what I'm saying? Dragon Ball did a lot of severely injuring, and people was just coming back to life. You mean to tell me this episode was 30 minutes to an hour, and nobody lost their life? Everyone's okay. Come on, bro. That can't be a good show. I'm sorry. It can't be. It's not.
Form you want, and
I might watch it though. I might watch episode 1 again. But if it's trash, I'm turning it off, bro. If the animation gets on my nerves, I'm turning it off.
promise you will not regret it. Thanks for watching.
This a W video though. I'm gonna subscribe to bro. Everybody who's talked to me about watching One Piece, I told them no. But this might have convinced me. I still don't think I'm gonna like it though. But I'm gonna try. Maybe. Better than Attack on Titan, though. Come on, bro. Y'all gotta chill. Y'all gotta chill. Y'all gotta chill. Y'all don't be going through no real problems in life. That's why y'all be saying that. But yeah, y'all let me know what y'all think, bro. Do y'all like One Piece?